Well, it was sort of close but no cigar for us here last season with Jahn Regensburg. We've already done some transfers here at the start of July to hopefully make that maybe change here this upcoming season, but also we're coming back because there's a job interview from over in Spain. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 73 of Rookie to Royalty here on Shaun Does FM with Jahn Regensburg. I hope you're doing well and coming up today going to do a little bit of a transfer recap, and depending on what happens in this upcoming job interview with club over in Spain, we might also be making our third move of this save. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. This comes off the back of the end of last season yesterday, where unfortunately got knocked down in the semi-finals by Newcastle United in the Conference League, and already had Champions League football wrapped up, so I thought might as well skip forward and do the end of season review. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. We did have a transfer budget of around 25 million that we had to work with, and so far I think we've actually improved our squad quite a bit here at Jahn Regensburg, despite the fact that we haven't really done too much in terms of players coming. You can see there's a lot going on, goalkeeper-wise in particular. Big old bid there for Rome Jane Owusu-Adulo from Saudi Arabia, 30 million rising to 35 million. That seems a little bit too good to turn down, so we might actually be losing our first choice goalkeeper from last season here at Jahn Regensburg. Worth noting though, he doesn't like big matches, and we've already replaced him with someone that we managed to get on a cup goalkeeper contract who does like those big matches. So maybe that sale won't be the worst, and certainly that will bump up that transfer budget quite nicely, seeing as it's not too high currently. Also a few other players who might be on their way out. But we have already done some business, and I'm quite excited about it here at Jahn Regensburg. We'll just go back here and make sure none of it went through before the end of that previous season. In fact, one sale, it did go through. Ethan Batira, who was one of our fourth or fifth choice centre-backs here last season. We bought him from Ajax for a fee of around 200k. I think it was indeed that was the case. We sold him to Toulouse for 350k there before that new season did tick over. So an early sale, we did make there a slight profit on Ethan Batira, who we did sign for a little bit of extra squad depth. Still young enough, has a bit of potential, but just wasn't getting the game time here and did want to move on. So Ethan Batira these days is over at Toulouse. But taking over into the transfers that have gone through since we actually made our way in to this current season, a few players who have left the club. Tygo Land to Dynamo Dresden for £2 million. He just wasn't really good enough for the Bundesliga, and we have enough squad depth, of course, off the back of signing Hawkera halfway through last season Haasman as a backup. So Tygo Land didn't need him anymore. He's gone to Dynamo Dresden for £2 million, which is pretty good considering we signed him from PSV for 225k. So nice profit there on Tygo Land. And also Justin Hubner has gone to Saudi Arabia, Al Fadi, for 2.9 million. Another player that we make a good old profit on after signing him for 600k out of Austria. But the Indonesian international was just getting a little bit old. I say that, not too bad, but I thought with that potential and current ability, maybe a good time to move on from him. Seeing as last season, he ended up being the backup to Cristo Curvo. So a couple of players that we got rid of there for some pretty nice fees, which did allow us to spend big on two additions in the end to the first team. Quim Jimenez was the first one. He comes in above Sebastian Lopez as a new first choice balling midfielder. You can see him there with that exact role. He does look like a little bit there of an upgrade. So the 23-year-old Spaniard comes in there for 13 million out of Levante, straight in to the first team. And probably with that Owusu-Adulo situation, Batata we've signed from Sao Paulo for a slightly smaller fee there of 12.75 million. Attribute-wise, actually better than Owusu-Adulo, and does not dislike big matches. I thought there he might actually have he enjoys big matches, but no, he's pretty neutral to him. You can see there for that fee we paid for him, he looks like a really good goalkeeper, fitting in with the club vision of being a signing 23 years old and younger. So I think there are quite a few nice additions we've made to our squad here already at Jahn Regensburg. And of course, if that Owusu-Adulo transfer does go through and we're still here, a lot more money that we can spend. So we've done a little bit of business here early with this Jahn Regensburg team in terms of the season preview at this early stage. Definitely expected to be a lot higher than we have been in recent seasons, finishing smack bang mid-table, of course, this season, though, Champions League football, and hopefully a deeper run in the DFB Pokal. That might test our squad depth out just a little bit more. But the main reason we're coming back here at the start of July on the 7th is we've got a job interview offer now. Obviously, I said in yesterday's episode we'd only do these if it did come from a club which was on a similar level to us at this point of the save. And of course, we've got Champions League football, and we've got one of those out of the Liga in Real Sociedad. Now, thankfully, Spain, their new season hasn't quite ticked over yet. So you can see there, they're predicted to finish in 4th, and they finished in 4th. So honestly, not too sure why their manager got the sack. Maybe they're expecting him to finish above Atletico Madrid as the best of the rest there behind Real Madrid and Barcelona. But honestly, league-wise, not too much difference, I'd say, between the situation in Germany and the situation in Spain, apart from the fact that there's 2 really strong teams there over in Spain, and probably just the one here in Germany, in Bayern Munich, albeit the season before last it was Borussia Dortmund, who did run away with the title. But definitely a bit of a deeper league over there, it feels like, in Spain, up near the top. But Real Sociedad doing enough to qualify for the Champions League, albeit if we check out the Champions League, they will have to go through. If we check out the teams and find them, they're not too far down. Their coefficient actually a lot stronger than ours, but the third qualifying round in the league paths, actually, they're not guaranteed to make their way straight through into that league phase like we are down here, all the way down here, because our coefficient not too good off the back of just that one season in the Conference League, but we are guaranteed at Jahn Regensburg to enter the competition league phase. Real Sociedad do have to play a couple of qualifiers, so maybe that's something that we need to consider. But Real Sociedad finishing 4th in La Liga. The season preview, obviously, their squad is potentially a little bit stronger than ours here at Jahn Regensburg, so we'll see what they have to say in this job interview, because definitely I think it's one that we should probably attend just in case, and we'll see just how interesting this job might be. I've actually never managed in Spain before on a Football Manager save, so that might be something which does influence me here during this job interview. But let's get down to business. Are we worried about not being able to speak the language? I'm pretty confident that we can learn the language. Honestly, we know Korean in this save. We'll be fine. They have reservations about the fact we've never managed before in this country. Let's ask for a chance and say I've always been keen to manage in this country, but never had the opportunity. I hope you'll give me a chance. Now, what do we think makes us suited to manage a club of this stature? I think we'll try and convince them there with that first option on the left and say we've been building up experience at smaller clubs, waiting for a chance like this. Now, while we only worked with a small selection of teams as per usual, we've shown loyalty. That must be good. We've done some highly impressive work at Jahn Regensburg. Why do we want to move on? You're headhunting me, but maybe what we say instead is that we can actually take the momentum that we've built at Jahn Regensburg and bring it here. Now, Director of Football Eric Bretos, what does he look like? Honestly, not that great. So maybe we're not sure about him. In terms of the backroom staff, we probably want a fair budget. If they all look like him, could do some upgrades there. Now, here's the club vision that we can see, pretty similar to Jahn Regensburg signing players under the age of 23. One of the reasons that they were keen on us, also work within the wage budget, sign players to sell for a profit, as you've just seen. We can definitely do that based on our time in Germany. Also increase commercial revenue, which I'm pretty sure shouldn't be a manager's issue, the marketing team. But anyway, that falls on us. There's the contract situation. Just don't give long contracts to old players. As per usual, they want us to qualify for the Champions League and win a domestic cup from next season, as well as be recognised as the best of the rest, which, to be fair, I'm not too sure if it means finishing behind Atletico Madrid or above them, because obviously Real Madrid and Barcelona, the big two in Spain. I'm not too sure if it's a big three, and Atletico Madrid do sneak in there. So to be fair, that is a little bit of a loose criteria, honestly, and going down further, just continue to be decent, but not quite win the title. So really, not too much difference there to what we're currently doing with Jahn Regensburg, albeit only after 2 seasons in the Bundesliga. We'll say that all seems perfectly fine. No expectations, because these guys haven't actually ticked over into their new season yet. Any other requests? I don't think so. No idea yet what their transfer budget might be. Might actually check that in terms of the job listing. If we can do that. No, we can't. Maybe should have checked that before we went into that interview. But we'll see how that goes. Obviously, interview-wise in the save so far, we've not been too good, so maybe it's not going to matter anyway. We won't get offered this job, just like it's been the case of about the last 10 interviews that we've been to in the save. But maybe this would be an interesting move, even though it's a little bit of a sideways step club-wise. It's a bit of an upgrade, albeit these days not too much of one. We're improving here at Jahn Regensburg, but we'll see how that job interview goes if we get offered a job there by Real Sociedad. And we are back 2 days later. Is it a good thing or not? You'll find out shortly, but you'll see there already that sale of Rome. Jadon Owusu-Odolo has gone through, so he's now over in Saudi Arabia, so it does mean Batada should be able to step up now and be our first choice goalkeeper at Jahn Regensburg if we do stay here. But Jadon Owusu-Odolo, of course, did a really good job for us in his one season at Jahn Regensburg, but just a little bit worried about that. Doesn't enjoy big matches with the Champions League coming up, and of course, we didn't get past Newcastle in the Conference League semi last season. Maybe that was one of the reasons that wasn't the case, but overall, that's a pretty good effort. For 1 year's work, we make about double the money that we spent on him, and he did do a pretty good job and was signed a better goalkeeper for less money as well. So I think we've done pretty well there with that sale, but the reason that we're back here on the 9th of July is if we go down, we've got a bit of a decision to make because that interview finally has gone quite well. We've been asked to join Real Sociedad. Now, the wage here is £23,000. We've also been asked by Jahn Regensburg to just see if maybe they can extend our contract and stay here instead. So maybe what we do is see what they're going to offer us here at Jahn Regensburg, because as I said, actually quite excited by some of the deals that we've made. And of course, our transfer budget now has been bumped up quite considerably, so there will still be a fair bit of money that we can spend to improve our squad here at Jahn Regensburg. So maybe leaving actually not the best idea. So we'll see maybe what they can do in terms of that wage that Real Sociedad are looking to offer us. It's about 23k. We can probably get that bumped up to something like 27.5k a week if we really want to go house hunting in Spain and some spare money for beer and tapas and all that sort of stuff you do over there in San Sebastian. But it would mean a pretty decent pay rise for Jahn Regensburg here based on what we're doing currently, 11.75k a week. So honestly, I do think here that we might be on the move to Real Sociedad based on the difference in wage, but we'll see if maybe they're going to give us here something to think about, because I'm pretty happy with our squad here at Jahn Regensburg. The one thing, apart from obviously the extra steps to qualify for the Champions League with where they finished there at Real Sociedad last season, their squad does look quite a bit older, which is good and bad, because they've got quite a few homegrown club players and homegrown nation players as well, so a little bit better set up there than we are here at Jahn Regensburg. There's big names there as well and high transfer value, so probably could do some bits there in the transfer window if we wanted to. But if we check out the age of these players, the general info, most of them are pretty old, the players who will be starting, which is a little bit of a concern. Certainly a much younger squad here at Jahn Regensburg, so maybe our squad is actually a little bit better set up for some long-term success, but we'll see how this goes. Honestly, I'm pretty split, so I'm kind of going to let the game decide based on the wage, which might be a little bit stupid considering we can't do anything with the wage because that's how FM24 works, but we'll see if Jahn Regensburg will give us a pay rise, and maybe then we need to see just how things go here if we want to stay or go to Real Sociedad if they can match that wage. We'll say that we'll be willing to stay if given a new contract. That's what they'll do. Will it pop up immediately? And will we need to hit delay there with Real Sociedad? It says a new contract to be offered. It's just not quite happening yet. So maybe what we do is click on the delay button here with Real Sociedad, see if we can wait a week and see what's going on with Jahn Regensburg if they can match the wage. And maybe we actually should stay here. But at the moment, looks like we could be on the move to Real Sociedad. And we've gone for it, clicked and already got this contract offer here from Jahn Regensburg. Now, it's only 19k currently. Of course, it was going to be something like 25k from Real Sociedad. So I think what we do here is try and get it up to about 27.5k maybe. Then we have something to think about. Maybe staying at Jahn Regensburg. They've gone up a little bit there with that first offer. So let's see maybe if they'll come meet us here and actually give us a bit more than that 25k which was being offered by Real Sociedad. Then maybe we go back and see what actually they'd be willing to go up to. And Jahn Regensburg have a little bit more money than I thought they did. That is a big old pay increase, 27.5k a week. Of course, we delayed on the Real Sociedad thing, so we can't quite accept this yet. Otherwise, that job, it would get turned down. So I think here might be a little bit of a cheeky save and reload just to check something that in real life you should be able to do, compare the wages of the clubs who want us. So going back in time here, actually see what Real Sociedad will offer us the wage, 23k, so it's actually quite a big wage rise there from Jahn Regensburg. Maybe that's going to be the place that we need to stay. We'll try and get this up here to 27.5k, saying as that's what they offered us, even maybe 28k, just to make sure that we should be going here. 25k, that's not as much as Jahn Regensburg. They were willing to offer us. They're pretty set here on 25k. So maybe Real Sociedad don't actually have that much money. They're pretty hard set here on their 25k. I want 27.5k, seeing as that's what Jahn Regensburg was saying. And they've turned that down, so maybe we should actually stay at Jahn Regensburg. I think that's the decision that we're going to have to make, seeing as they've offered us a bigger contract. And of course, as I've been saying, I'm quite happy with our squad in Germany. And otherwise, it's a little bit of a sideways step. So honestly, despite the fact it would be quite interesting, the fact they've got no money, I'm thinking that we actually stay at Jahn Regensburg, seeing as they're willing to offer us this contract on a higher wage and more long-term as well for squad that we know it's quite young and quite promising. So despite the fact that Real Sociedad would have been quite an interesting move to a nation I haven't managed in before on Football Manager, I think for now we might actually stay here at Jahn Regensburg. Obviously, if we sign this new deal, I dare say there'll be no other clubs that will be able to come after us here in this window before the start of the season. So I think we're going to be staying here at Jahn Regensburg once we hit this continue button. And indeed, it looks like that will be the case. Sorry, Real Sociedad, but you were a little bit too tight there with their wage you're offering, otherwise might have gone. But no, we're going to stay here at Jahn Regensburg. A quick update too on what the job centre looks like. Really, that was the only big one that was available. You'll see there a whole lot of nothing apart from Real Sociedad down there on the bottom half of the screen. So yeah, I think we're going to be staying now at Jahn Regensburg, especially seeing as we've just signed that contract. So let me make my way through the rest of this transfer window and we'll recap it to wrap up today's episode. And going forward, the best part of a week from signing our new 5-year contract here at Jahn Regensburg, seeing as Real Sociedad would not offer us money. We'll recap the transfers in one swoop now once we make our way forward for our first league game of the season, which actually going to be a pretty tough start for us here. We've got Borussia Dortmund away and RB Leipzig at home, so definitely a big couple of first up games to off the back of the first round of the DFB Pokal. But we're coming back because of this inbox item by Real Sociedad. They've told us our interview was unsuccessful, which we know is a load of absolute BS because they were offering us the job. We actually turned you guys down. Now, the issue with this though is Sebastian Hodnes, I believe is how you might say that name with the funny B. I'm pretty sure that's how it used to work with Pascal Gross in the Premier League, but he's the manager. He's been doing a decent job at Hellas Verona over in Italy in a pretty similar situation to Real Sociedad, having just finished 4th there in Serie A. But the thing that's got me up in arms here is look at the wage that Real Sociedad are going to pay this guy, £76,000 a week, when they'd only offer us £25,000. So for some reason, their second choice they're giving £51,000 more than they'd be giving us. Obviously, money in FM doesn't mean a lot, but seriously, what's happening there, FM? You silly AI. If they offered us that wage, we'd be in Spain right now. So that seems a little bit off there that he's got that amount of money and we can only get 25k. Yeah, something not quite right there, but there's the Real Sociedad manager saying as our interview was unsuccessful. But that wage has got me a little bit PO'd, honestly. And going forward a good month or so off the back of that interesting new appointment from Real Sociedad, all the money for him, but not for us. And we're about to play our first couple of games of the season here. They'll be coming up in tomorrow's episode. What we're going to do now is wrap up our transfers here at Jahn Regensburg. So obviously had a bit more to spend off the back of that sale of a Wusu Adulu, and also a few more that did go out. You'll see we've currently spent everything we've got, albeit Levente Toff should be on his way to FC Utrecht for a fee of £7 million. I found someone with more potential than him that you'll see shortly. So Levente Toff might be on his way out. The club have tried to offer him out there for a little bit more because he's been a little bit of a bidding war, but it looks like currently that £7 million will be the most for him, because honestly, despite the fact that attribute-wise He's quite good goal scoring wise. That record, despite coming off the bench more often than not, has not been too hot. So Levente Toff might be about to make there a nice little profit to make sure that wage budget and that transfer budget does get back into a good situation where maybe we can sign a couple of good young players. But here's the transfers that we've done ever since that Real Sociedad situation. There's been quite a bit, so we'll start off here over on the right-hand side. Off the back of the sale of Owusu Adoro, got rid of Samba and Jarvis on loan, as well as Paul Cooper, but a few more sales that we did make. First up, Bjorn Tori Lingvar, our backup goalkeeper. Now, in hindsight, probably wouldn't have been the worst idea to keep him around, but off the back of the signing of Batata, I thought we didn't need him. So in the end, we've sold him to Pisa there for 1.5 million. He was just pretty rubbish when we needed him, and also another goalkeeper that did not like big matches. So unfortunately, actually make a little bit of a loss there on that transfer, but given all the other work we've done, it's not too bad. But last season at Real Betis, he was woeful and not too good when he was here at Jahn Regensburg either. So Lingvar is now over with Pisa. Those guys, if we check them out, might be down in Serie B. Indeed, they are. So he's going to be playing some second-tier Italian football this upcoming season. Also, departing the club once we get back there. Zeno Schneier, another one of those backup midfielders who went down the pecking order off the back of the signing of Louis Horkirov. Got rid of him to Al Fati as well for 2 million. So pretty similarly to the sale of Justin Hubner. Not too bad considering we only signed him for 600k. So that makes up there for that loss we did make on Bjorn Tori Lingvar. As well as that, we've got rid of Joshua Rawlins, found an upgrade at right back. So Rawlins, we've sold there to Youngbook over in Korea for 4.3 million. Another really good deal for us there, getting rid of the Australian again. Does not like big matches after we signed him for 875k. So you kind of see there why Real Sociedad liked us with that whole club vision they had of selling players for a profit. We could have actually paid for our pay rise with these sales that we are making. But Joshua Rawlins, a little bit rocks and diamonds when he was here at Jahn Regensburg. The Australian is now over in South Korea. And also the other sale we made, Sebastian Lopez to Alveda, ideally a player that we would have kept. We signed someone who is a replacement. You saw it earlier in Quim Jimenez, and that upset him a little bit. He still wanted to be an important player in the final year of his contract, so it was just easier to sell him there for a fee of 1.7 million. Very good attribute-wise, but in terms of the star rating, it was not that good. So I thought maybe not a bad time there to cash in on him, especially because in behind that, La Rosa is going to become homegrown club in the next little while. So definitely Lopez was a player that we needed to sell, make a loss on him, which honestly is a bit disappointing, but with the profits we're making on some other transfers, it's still not too bad overall. So those are players that we've got rid of from our squad last season off the back of that Real Sociedad situation, and we've signed quite a few more now. First up, we've actually spent here more on our backup goalkeeper than we did on our new first choice goalkeeper, which is a little bit of a funny situation, but Benjamin Biara comes in from the Bayern seconds for an overall fee of 18 million. It wasn't that much up front, but potential-wise, he has a lot of that, and of course, because he comes from Bayern, he's homegrown nation, so I thought that might not be the worst idea there for a backup goalkeeper. Before him, we did try and sign a couple more youngsters out of South America, but they weren't happy being backups. In the end, this was the only guy that we could sign as a backup to replace Lingvar, and I thought it might not be the worst idea with all that potential. So despite the fact that current ability-wise, he's not too good, don't think it will matter too much considering that Batata has come to the club. So fingers crossed now, we're well sorted out there in goalkeeper for the rest of the save, however long that is here at Jahn Regensburg. So Biara comes in there for an overall fee of 18 million. Of course, that does mean we spent that Owusu Adoro money on our two replacement goalkeepers. So then have pretty much the rest of our transfer budget that was already there at the start of the season of about 25 million to spend on these other players as well as all the other sales that we did make. So first up, our new starting right back in Filippo Ballerini, who comes in from Torino for a fee of 9 million, rising to 10.5 million. He is a little bit of an upgrade on Alex Jimenez, and of course, that allows us to make that sale of Joshua Rawlins, 22 years old, and he's got some very, very good physical attributes, some technicals. They could use some work, but certainly look like a good pickup. So he comes in there from Torino and formerly of AC Milan as well. Hopefully he'll do a good job for us there as our new first choice right back. Also coming in not to the first team, but as a backup option a little bit better than someone like Jan Pavicic, that would be Thomas Altwasser for 5.5 million from the Dortmund seconds. He is a little bit more of a aerial threat than someone like Pavicic as a backup to Ruslan. So he comes in as a bit of a bench player for us now here, and also homegrown nation and 23 years old, so a bit younger and already homegrown nation. That seemed like a good signing there out of Borussia Dortmund. So a backup player there who's massive at 1.97 metres tall, albeit a little bit concerned. He doesn't enjoy big matches, but ideally he won't be playing in those because he'll just be sitting down on the bench. Also coming in, we've got Jostein Rosnes Hansen. Now, these last couple of signings we made are a little bit more in the wonder kid category, and he is certainly one of those, a left back for 3.5 million, rising to 3.6 with 4.5 star potential. So he could end up being a regular left back for us here at Jahn Regensburg. For this season, though, he'll sit in behind both Dorn and Henning, and also he picked up an injury in the one game we played in the Cup. So unfortunately, he's already out for 2 to 3 weeks, but most of his game time this season, that will come in our under-19s and our B team. But certainly a good signing there with quite a bit of potential. Also, we've brought in Felipe Ramos from Lanús, albeit loaned him straight back out, the 18-year-old centre-back, because he also has a bit of potential and was available on the cheap. But as I said, he's gone back out on loan, so you won't be seeing him this season. And to wrap things up, the player that we signed to kind of replace Toff, it's Luis Rivera, the 7.75 million from Pachuca, doing a decent job at the Club World Cup. As I say this on the Saturday, Bayern Munich keeping European respect alive with the first win over a South American team just before over Boca Juniors. Hopefully that hasn't aged too well, because currently Copa Libertadores looks better than the Champions League, but Luis Rivera comes in for 7 odd million and looks like a super promising striker. He can't jump, but none of our previous strikers could. That's why we do low crosses. He is good on both feet, a lot of potential, and has some really nice attributes. So I'm kind of hopeful he'll end up being a long-term first-choice striker here at Jahn Regensburg. Rene Müller is still going to be our first choice for this upcoming season. But the Mexican international we've signed there from Pachuca, certainly long-term could overtake Müller by the time we get a few more seasons on here in the save, if we're still here at Jahn Regensburg. So that's a transfer business that we've done in particular off the back of that interesting situation there with Real Sociedad and them being so tight. It does mean that we've sold roughly 45 million of players, of course, with that sale as well of Ethan Butera, and we've bought in 72 million. It's actually a fair bit of money that we've been dealing with here in the transfer window with Jahn Regensburg. Here's what our squad looks like going into this upcoming season. Obviously, Batata comes in goal with the sales that we have made of our previous goalkeepers. Ballerini at right back, but apart from that, it's the same back four as last season. Jimenez comes in there for Lopez. That's a straight swap, seeing as we sold him. And also, we've got Rivera up top currently. Normally not the case, but Rene Müller has picked up an injury as well in pre-season and only recommended for 45 minutes of Rivera. You'll get a look at there in tomorrow's episode. But really, most of the other changes, they do come on the bench. And Altwasser, Rivera, and of course Beera, our new backup goalkeeper. And also coming back in from loan, Michael Marston. That's the reason that we actually sold Hubner, because he looks a little bit better as a backup to Cuervo in that central defender stopper role. So that's the reason we were able to get rid there of Justin Hubner. And of course, Levente Toff might be on his way out of the door, which will prop up that transfer budget by about 7 million, but quite a bit of that will need to go over into the wage to sort that out, because currently we're over it by a big old chunk. And a quick update too on what the season preview it does now look like. We've jumped up just a little bit, one spot into ninth. So definitely should be no danger of relegation this season here at Jahn Regensburg. Hopefully can maybe go close to a title, but we'll see. With Champions League football, no doubt that's going to be a lot tougher than our league phase games were last season in the Conference League. But I think that will do it for today's episode. Some transfers and a very interesting decision there between Jahn Regensburg and Real Sociedad, those absolute tight asses. I don't know how that other manager got 70 odd K out of them when we couldn't get 27.5k. But if you enjoyed that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. We'll come back tomorrow, as I said, a bit of a brutal start for us here this season. Dortmund away and Leipzig at home. It comes off the back of a 4-1 win in the first round of the DFB Pokal, where honestly we weren't that impressive, even though that was with a bit of a rotated team. So hopefully a bit better in those first 2 games of the season with some of those new signings there in tomorrow's episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.